just want to thank everybody for their coverage. Obviously, disappointing loss on the road at Michigan. We talked about it after the game. I meant exactly what I said. I watched the tape, felt the exact same way, and that's what a whooping feels like and looks like. I mean, we got whooped. We didn't tackle well. We didn't play well, and we've gotten away with it at certain times in terms of on defense. When we missed a tackle, people can still run fast enough to catch that certain guy. You can't catch Michigan, and I think the lack of speed showed, and they ran away from us all night. So we had a great week, or a great few days, I should say. Sunday was a wonderful team meeting. We got very real very quickly. And then Monday was the players' day off, and then today we had a phenomenal practice. They came out hungry, full pads, got after it. And, so, again, proud of our progress, proud of their effort. Their efforts never questioned whatsoever. We just got beat, and we got beat pretty good. So with that, open up for questions.
What does that realness look like in that team meeting?
No, I think it was just exactly why did we lose. Just like every week. We keep it real every single week. We show them exactly why we lost. We show them plays, what happened, what didn't happen, what we do well, what didn't we do well. Very real. Nobody's sitting there going, oh, no. We just didn't play well. And we should have won that game. We shouldn't. I mean, we got beat, right? We got beat. And, we've had other games of, hey, if we do this and this right, we won the game. Because we've won a lot of games or lost a lot of games by one possession. This was not one possession. But on the other hand, when you look at it, I mean, it wasn't 59-3. I've had that happen to me before in my coaching career too. But again, it was, I think, when you started to look what was going on and what were the issues, lack of tackling. And then once we missed one tackle, we had two guys in gaps, and we had them cornered at a lot of different times. But a stiff arm here, there was a major difference on that field of strength and speed.
Coach, what do you think of the passing games learned in the last two losses?
We can't we're not able at this point right now. We're not creating separation versus man coverage. Everybody says, hey, what are you going to do with your pass game? Well, we're developing our pass game, but if we're not able to get off press, right, and we're not able to create separation at the top of the routes, and we're not able to run by people, that's an issue, right? That's a skill set issue that we have to either address with off-season and in-season development in the weight room, speed development, or recruiting. Because one thing I'll continue to say is that, my job is to teach and demand that we get better at these things. And the players' jobs is to prepare and perform, right? And we have to have that work together. And, so again, it's my job, as I said, I think I said this to all of you in here before, is that, my job as a head football coach, and a coach told me this is where I learned it when I was a player. He said, my job is to out-recruit you. And you're a player at the time, you're catching passes, you think you're invincible, And he said, my job's to out-recruit you. I said, what do you mean? He goes, your job's to keep your job. Your job's to play so well that I can't replace you. But my job is to always find somebody better than you. And that's true. That's true in college football. If your recruiting classes continue to get better, right, you continue to bring in better talent, that creates a lot of competition. Where we're kind of stagnant right now is we have who we have, and there's not a lot of competition at a lot of positions. Competition, breeds a lot of things. And that competitive drive in you to be always on your toes, always be sharp. And right now we don't have the depth and the competition that goes even within season. If somebody's not able to perform, it's either that person or a true freshman or breaking a red shirt or somebody who shouldn't be playing yet. And kids are smart. They know that. But came to practice today, found, we worked hard.
Do you feel like you need to get more speed on one side of the ball versus another?
I think in general. I think when you watch, I'm not ever going to insult your intelligence, right? I mean, when you watch the game, there was a significant difference of two teams. And you got to give Jim Harbaugh and University of Michigan a lot of credit. They're a really good football team. But as I was very real with our team, I said, that's what a championship football team looks like. Runs like, tackles like, plays with confidence like, creates separation like. 111,000 people even after a 2-hour rain delay. Still there. 111,000 people. So again, that's what it looks like. I said, if we want to get to that point, we all have to understand that's what they look like. And they have an expectation of winning. They know how to win. They know how to finish those games. They know how to be able to dominate and take over a game. I use an example of teams within our league, even Michigan State. I mean, you talk about them. They're youthful, but that culture's been there over a decade now. and they know how to win. They can survive 3-9 seasons and come back and now be at the top of the Big Ten East. They can do those things because the culture's set. There's a certain way of doing things. They've lost some close games, won some close games. We've lost some very close games, you know, and we've won some as well. So, you know, it's one of those years that we've got to continue to get better, continue to add to the depth and the experience, and the skill set's got to get better, period. And whether that's through development, again, within our program, recruiting, but we have to get better, and we will.
Coach, Nebraska has a wide receiver at slot back from Eden Prairie, J.D. Spielman. Seems like he's a pretty electric player.
Very electric.
Yeah. What kind of challenges does he present, and is he a prime example of someone that going forward you need to keep in the state?
Absolutely. I mean, we have to keep everybody in the state, but I need everybody's help to keep people in the state. You know, I mean, the people that are, oh, here we go again. I mean, that's not going to keep somebody in the state when they hear those things. We haven't won a championship for 50 years, so the people that come in this program have to understand that that's what they want. They want to do something that's not been done in 50 years. They have to be legacy type players. They have to be. They have to want to be legendary. They have to want to make such a difference. And there's a lot of people in 2019 class, a lot of people in 2018 class that around this area that have to decide that. You know, it's not just one person that has to do this. We all have to do this together. And I said that even from the opening start. It's not just about hiring a coach. It's about enhancing a culture. It's about taking the good with the bad, understanding that there's going to be some really, really dark and tough times. Well, that's what row the boat's for. Row the boat's not for the calm seas. Row the boat's for when things get rocky. And we're going to have to be able to keep people like that in state. You know, they've got a Stanley Morgan's another kid they have that's just an electric player. They got electric players. We have to get more electric players than just one guy or one position. We have to find lots of electric players. And then guys that we do have that are considered in a somewhat category of electric or could be electric, they got to know what it's like to become the guy and what the responsibilities of that guy are. And they're learning that.
You've built some programs from their infancy and build them up. How does this feel comparatively to maybe some of them?
Very similar. You know, that's why I took the job. You know, I think, you know, as I got asked a question earlier today about expectations and, you know, how do you manage, I think a lot of you asked me, how do you manage the expectations? And my question back to you was, well, we were picked 11th out of 14 in the Big Ten. And, you know, after whatever season it was, you picked 11th out of 14. I think that just shows you what the expectations from people that even before I got here, what they saw. I've always taken over programs that I feel like I can just create my culture, create our culture, create something from the ground up. Again, this was not an extension of something else. It was to embrace our past, right, of the traditions we have, to create our future down the road. But right now, we have to be able to work through those to be able to connect the dots. And sometimes when you have to connect the dots, they don't connect in a straight line. You know, I drew this, you know, I always, and I'm going to do this again. I can't believe I'm going to do this. But, you know, I think everybody understands this. And I drew this at Western Michigan. But I think it's a great time for everybody to see this. I'm not an artist. But this is what everybody thinks success is, right? This is success. You start here, we hire the guy, there he goes. Right? And we're going to win. And we're just going to keep winning because we had change. That's not realistic. I did this at Western Michigan too, but I think it's a great time to be able to do this. This is what success actually looks like. Right? And when you change culture, you change everything. Offense, defense, special teams, coaches, logistics, operations, marketing, branding. Everything changes when you make a drastic change. And we made a drastic change. Right, wrong, or indifferent. Agreed, disagree. We made a change. And this is even for young people. 3 coaches in 3 years. Right? 6 coaches in 11 years. And then there's going to be this little spike, right? And then you're going to dip again. And this is called change again. This is called uncomfortableness. And then it's just going to continue to go. But there's going to be lots of peaks. There's going to be lots of valleys. There's going to be good times. There's going to be bad times. There's going to be doubt. There's going to be criticism. I hear everybody. I get it. I mean, nobody likes to lose. When we haven't won a championship in 50 years, everybody wants it to be this year. And I'm with you. But I've studied a lot of people. I've done this my entire life, all the way from high school, where we hadn't won a state championship in the high school's existence. My junior and senior year, we win both, back-to-back, 14-0, 14-0. Then I go to a school that has a 27-game losing streak. We weren't very good, so they picked me to be their wideout. That's how bad we were. And I went there, and we were one of the worst teams in the country, and we flipped it, and we went 10-2 our senior year. And beat Alabama at Bama, and beat Maryland, and beat Iowa State. And if you continue to go through all that, I went to the San Francisco 49ers, who weren't very good at the time. Ohio State was one that was pretty good. There wasn't much you had to really do there in terms of learn how to rebuild it. But then we went to Rutgers. I watched Greg Schiano be able to rebuild that. And then I got a chance to rebuild my own program. Same thing. Again, reminding all of you to connect the dots that they hadn't won an outright championship in '66 and '88. Same type of deal. And went 1-11. And had all the criticism, had all the doubt, and was really my own best friend. Was kind of by yourself for a long time, and you're the only one rowing the boat at times. But this is what it's for. And then 2, 3, 4 years down the road, everybody's going to look back at this and say, "That's what he's talking about. That's what it. That okay? Now row the boat's cool." You know. But again, it just takes a while to get there. And we've had a lot of challenges. We've had a lot of adversity, but so has everybody. We've lost some really close games. And that's when everybody says, "What was your definition of success? Do you have amount of wins that that you'd sit there and say was a positive year?" I don't. You know, if we would have just had one more drive or one more possession in 3 games, then you flip that, or 7-3 or whatever, 7-2 or 6-3, are we still sitting there saying that? Well, I look at how hard do our players play? How well is the culture being laid? What are we doing with the circumstances that are thrown our way? How are we responding in practices? How is the culture being built on and off the field? What are our players doing to change the narrative? So again, that's a long answer to your question, but this is something that every one of these coaches are here. The reason why they're here, I mean, Ed Warner was at Kansas. 1-11, bang. I think they went close to undefeated, right? I mean, every one of our coaches have been through some type of adversity that's why I hired them, because I knew what it'd be like. I think everybody else had this, false sense of security of what it's going to be like, but I knew exactly what was going to happen, especially with change. Again, and that's very difficult. Remember, 17 to 22-year-old young people is our target.
What have you seen in Denver's development over the past few weeks?
I think he's getting more comfortable in the pocket. Again, we have to do and continue to do on offense and defense and special teams, game plan, what our players can do well, highlight their strengths, eliminate their weaknesses. And again, we're not doing a lot right now, okay? And some would sit there and say, well, just, you're not doing a lot. Well, we're not doing a lot because we have to do what our players can handle. And Demery's showing growth. He's showing a little bit better ball security. His accuracy and his passes are getting better. The one that he throws, or the one he fumbles with the sack fumble, is really not his fault. He doesn't feel it. But he could have got himself out of trouble earlier, and then he wouldn't have created what had happened. But I think he's understanding the offense a little bit more, making really good protection changes. But again, it takes all of us, not just him. But I think he's showing signs of growth. I don't think it's the big step that you sit there and say, oh, he's arrived. But there's little things here and there that you say, okay, he's growing, he's getting it. Coach Shiraka is doing a wonderful job of coaching him and being very patient. And he's doing a great job. But that doesn't mean that you're not going to see Connor before the end of the year either. Both these guys continue to work really hard. And they both deserve to be out there. It's hard because there's only one ball and one quarterback. But, we'll just continue to put whoever out there gives us the best chance to win. And I think they're both improving, though. Even in practice, they're both getting better.
How would you rate or describe the passion that Blake plays with?
That's how you should play the game. If we had 125 Blake Cashmans, that's the goal. Now, different positions. I'm saying the heart, the spirit, the fire. If you could take Blake Cashman and in 3 years down the road, sit there and say, that's what the team will look like at every position, that's my vision of the football team. So when I hold up this picture and I show you what success is, that's where we want to get to. The best compliment a coach can give a player. When you sit there and say, I want 125 of you to match every position, and then you start throwing talent and athleticism in there, and speed, and difference makers, that's what it looks like.
What's in particular the key to his success on special teams?
It's all how. We talk about this word how, and we take all these words and these artists and make this how word out of it, to break up the monotony of some things. But it's true. Your how is your story. It's your journey. It's your path. It's the reason you never quit. There's a difference between winning and refusing to lose, and he refuses to lose. He just doesn't want to win. Everybody wants to win. Everybody in here would like to, I at least think you'd all want Minnesota Golden Gophers to win, right? And we all want them to win. It's a lot better than covering losing, right? And so for us, I feel the same way. But there's a refuse to lose that comes part of being a champion, to go back to your question. That when champions become champions, they refuse to lose. They know how to win so much that losing is not an option. And that's how Blake Cashman plays. It's not an option. For my guy to make the play on special teams is not an option. For somebody else to make the play down the field, besides me, not an option. It's my option, and I'm going to make sure it happens. And that's what he does. That's what he does on defense, special teams. That's how he lives his life. He's an unbelievable academic student. Never have to talk about Blake Cashman going to class. Never have to talk about doing the wrong things. He's a perfect example of what our row the boat culture is about.
Coach, what is Cashman's role now that he's played that more? You got these 6 tackles, I believe, in a sack last game after not having that much statistics before then.
Well, he'll continue to play. There's a pretty good player in front of him right now, John Celestine, right? That's at his position. But I think we're going to find ways to be able to get them both on the field at different times. And at the same time, Blake needs to be on the field. But, John Celestine's our best football player, I think, on the football team. I think he really is. And, he's had some elbow issues. And I think, again, that showed a little bit in terms of being able to wrap up. It's one thing to wrap up somebody that might not be able to run as fast, and then you wrap up a real quick, dynamic, fast, explosive back. And sometimes if that's bothering you, that's what happens. But again, I think everything was to protect him so we could have him for the rest of the year. But again, we got to do everything we can to get Blake on the field a lot more and move him around at different positions.
You had mentioned speed a few times, and with Michigan, how do you match up speed-wise with Nebraska?
Closer. It's closer. They're fast. They have one of the best punt returners in the country. He's incredibly dynamic and explosive. JD, Stanley. You can go on and on with guys that can really fly and really run. And again, done a great job recruiting. I know that's not necessarily the results that Nebraska expects, but Coach Riley's a class act, done a great job recruiting there, and it's amazing. It's 2.5 years into something, and everybody's on them. It's just amazing where our coaching profession's gone. Florida, 2.5 years, and they're gone. And it's interesting to look around the country, but that doesn't change anything that we do. I was very clear about us as when we came here. This is how if you don't want it this way, here's what it's going to look like. And that's why I tell everybody, it's going to get there. And then all of you are going to be shocked, and I'm going to sit up there and say, so what? Next one. Next year, here we're going to do it again. We're already on to next year. It's going to happen. It just, and you can see that. And like you said, what are the comparisons from year one where I was before? You could see it. It was going to happen. Just the time frame is you just don't know when it's going to happen. But with every recruiting class and every year of development, you've got a better shot at doing it. A lot of our players hadn't even had a full off season to develop, weight room wise, strength wise, conditioning wise. We just got them back in training camp from being off season surgeries. 22 off season surgeries. So, and then we have so many, 16 freshmen on our 2 deep. So we'll get there. We're just not. I think that's what I meant in all due respect, right? When you watch that game against Michigan, it was different. It was just a difference of athlete on the field in terms of people being in a program for a long time and a culture, and us just having this new culture.
How will Donnell pay the price for that play in Michigan?
Oh yeah, well internally he'll pay the price.
Will it carry over to Saturday at all?
Probably. He's not going to. I haven't got any word from the Big Ten, but that is unacceptable. Period. And I'm not into one of those guys say, yeah, that happens on the field. Emotions run high. It's all about controlling your emotions. If you control yourself, you can always control your opponent. The minute your opponent controls the way you act, now you got a problem. And I'll refuse to let that slide.
Take 1 or 2 more.
Coach, you've seen glimpses from Philip Howard this year. How has he grown in his role so far this season?
Well, I think he's understanding what it means to be a starting receiver. You've got to be able to make the plays that come your way. I think he's made some. I think he's not made some. I think he's been able to learn from his failing and his growth. He's a guy that's kind of been forced into a role. When you're forced into a role, it's like, hide and seek, ready or not, here we come, and boom, you're in the role. So ready or not, Philip Howard, you're going. And I like the development of our receivers. You might not be able to see all of it and wondering why we're not creating any separation, but if you would have seen where we were in January to where we are now, I'm really proud of the progress they're making. They're just not making it fast enough for everybody else. But for us, there's a steady improvement every single day, and Philip's a great example of that.
What's the charitable aspect of the trophy mean to you this weekend?
Well, this program's about 2 things. I've always said this, about serving and giving. And so anytime you have a rivalry that's kind of been reborn or born, right, from some type of charitable donation or charitable event, I mean, that's special. So anything that we can be a part of to raise money for other people, and anytime our program can be a part of that, we want to be a part of that. In terms of it being a traditional rivalry, I don't know that. Someone would have to inform me a little bit more about that. But I heard tradition, I heard rivalry, and I heard fundraising, charity, tradition, and I'm in. So I don't know what that means, but for us, we're going to do everything we possibly can to bring awareness.
This will be our last one, Dave. Go ahead.
With the fan criticism, can you give us a little sense as to how you handle it? Do you respond back to some people and try to share with them a little bit, or maybe even kind of educate them a little bit? How do you handle this criticism that comes in various forms and platforms?
Well, again, like I've said before,
deal with any of it,
yeah, no, I mean, I've been through this numerous times, okay? And so for me, it's, you're always going to have criticism, okay? When you have a year like this, or even back at 1-11, criticism was running rapid, right? When we were 11-0, going to be 12-0, criticism was incredibly high too, because if you don't win the game, it's a bust. It's a wasted year. Had a chance to win a championship. We're 12-0 going into the championship game, and we're still being criticized. I think people who really want to be negative will always be negative. You could be having the cure for cancer, and somebody's going to sit there and tell you, you took some medical company out of business, and it's unfortunate. Our world's that way. But that's part of the territory. When you're a public figure and you're in the public eye, and coaches, they make the salaries they make, people expect us to win and expect us to deliver, especially at a place where we haven't had championships in so long. And I get it and I understand it. And I listen and I hear and I have it all. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't take me off my course. It doesn't frustrate me. But I think that as people go, they'll start to see the big picture. They'll start to see the reason why we took the job. They'll start to see the winning and recruiting. They'll start to feel the difference in how this program develops. But when you don't have a result right away, it's hard for people that are result-oriented to jump right in and say, I'm in. They don't understand the process of that happening, with all due respect. And I'm about that. And sooner or later, those people say, okay, I see what he's doing. But if not, that's okay too. People have the right to their opinions. And I respect everybody's opinion. And a lot of times you can hear from your greatest criticisms. You can learn a lot as well. So people are always going to have them. I do respond to as many as I can. I always do, as best I possibly can. I also keep them. Western Michigan, I kept every positive letter I got, which was a stack of this big, and then I kept every negative one I got year one, and I can't tell you how high it was. And I do the same thing here. And I keep them, and sooner or later, when this hits, I'll write them a letter and say, told you, we'll eventually get there. But I understand. I get it. I get every bit of it. And if I'm a fan, I'm frustrated too. But again, my whole thing of why coming here, and from the day one, my message has always been consistent, that this is a process. You might not like it. You might not agree with it. You might not want it to be a process. You might have heard that before, but I can't control that. All I can control is running our program in a first-class fashion, knowing that the system works, and continue to go out there and change our best and grow every day. And that's what we'll continue to do as a program, as players, as coaches, and we're going to have fun doing it.
Thank you.
Yep, roll the whoops, game on. Go Gophers. Thanks, everybody.